Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Tyvis Powell, Jason Lloyd. Plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
Boy.
Hey, we're 6 days and counting from Super Bowl 58.
Yeah.
We haven't even really talked about it yet because we were so busy last week with Cavs and Brown stuff that we never got to it. But welcome to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. No Bull today. G. Bush, Earl the Pearl, Jay Crawford behind the glass, Mikey McNuggets. Hey, Mike.
What's up, guys?
Good weekend?
Yeah, should we just get right into it, G? I was telling him beforehand.
Yeah, man, this guy's weird. He told me a story. You got to hear.
Let's hear it. I haven't heard it yet.
So I was actually in your neck of the woods on Saturday, Jay. I was over in Chagrin.
Oh,
yes.
Chagrin. Okay.
Over in Chagrin.
All right.
And I got off the highway, and I was like, oh, if we make a left, we're at Jay's house. But I went right. Went to a horse barn. Whatever the horse barn over in Chagrin is.
Look,
yeah, I don't know.
Even he don't know about it.
I don't know where that is.
So.
Is it a, like, you want horseback riding?
No, well, yeah, not me. I don't. The whole story is how I hate horses. I put shorts up, by the way. If you go on our YouTube channel, go to the shorts. I put 2 shorts up from the barn.
How can you hate
Miss
horses?
Nuggets' little cousin rides horses.
Oh.
And she was in a horse competition
In
jumping
Chagrin Falls.
thing in Chagrin Falls.
Wow, I
so
didn't even know they had such a
being a
thing.
good family member, being a good boyfriend, we went over to support
Right.
my little cousin Kenzie, who got reserve champion, which I think is second place. So shout out Kenzie. But
Wow, congrats.
yeah, big deal.
Are
big
this
deal.
like they're jumping over things and stuff like
yeah,
that?
it's 3
Barrels?
foot
and-
and 4 foot jumps, and she's 8 or 9. So like
That's a lot of horse.
she's only like
control.
2.5, 3 feet tall. So like jumping over her essentially. It was pretty cool.
That's
but
nuts.
I hate horses.
Why?
When I was 11 or 12, my grandpa's 75th birthday, we went on a trail ride on horses up in upstate New York. And everyone got these big, majestic horses, except me. I got this little dinky polka dot black and white horse that I hadn't eaten in 30 years.
Miniature pony.
Named Vladimir, which should have been the first red flag. Think of all these cool horses. My dad had Applejacks, and my brother had Superior.
Good Lord, you remember
I
the
had
names
Vladimir.
after all these years.
I'll show you.
This
I should have
really
put it in tag
scarred
board. I have
the
a
hell
picture.
out of you.
He went
So,
to counseling for this.
We're on this little trail ride, right? And we're going through whatever woods are in upstate New York. And Vladimir starts sniffing my dad's horse, which was in front of me, sniffing his butt.
Oh,
And like
lovely.
getting real personal. So my dad's horse kicks Vladimir, tries to kick. So little 11-year-old McNuggets is watching giant Applejacks kick my horse.
Oh, now it turns into a mini rodeo.
Now my horse goes running down to the river and starts scratching his butt. All I'm doing is hanging on for dear life. I don't know what to do. I've never been on a horse before.
Oh, I
It
wish there
starts
was
scratching
video.
his butt on trees. It starts licking from the river, drinking from the river. So the lady who's leading the trail ride is like, kick it, it'll get back in line. Mind you, this is just sit on a horse and it rides. You're supposed to do nothing.
Right.
So I kick it. Vladimir takes off in front of the pack, just running wild. I'm hanging on literally for dear life. The lady
God, I
had to
wish there
come
was
up
video.
and come chase me, like chase my horse down. And
So
didn't
she
lasso
peels
it.
off and she's in full.
She's in full
trot
like full
mode.
throttle or full gallop, like what G's
Yeah.
doing, trying to get my horse. So eventually they catch up, they bring me back. I had to sit in this dungy little stinky, smelly barn until everyone else finished the ride because they had no more horses. So yeah, I hate horses. It literally was dramatic. I was 12, 11. I forget how, but it was my grandpa's 75th birthday. I was 11 or 12. Dramatic.
Wow.
It's the first time I've seen a horse in person since then.
Since then?
Well, like I've seen like the cops on horses, but like the
Yeah.
first time, me versus a
Wow,
horse
you
one-on-one.
are. Did you get counseling?
He needed.
He still need
If
that.
you go and watch the shorts on YouTube on our channel, like you could legitimately see the fear in my eyes.
He gave new meaning to the term "down by the river."
Hey, I'll tell you. Hey, listen. Hey,
So I don't like horses. It was terrifying.
Holy cow.
Shout out to you.
Yeah.
I'm never getting on. Listen, I'm not here. I'm petrified of certain things.
You don't horse ride either?
No, you're not about to Christopher Reeve me. That's not gonna happen to you, Bush.
Christopher Reeve.
No, I'm not doing that. And I don't ride 4-wheelers either.
Really?
Ever since I heard about, Rodney Rogers got paralyzed doing it on 4-wheelers.
Right.
People, this is the problem. When you're a cultured black person, right, and you grow up around white people make you believe that you intrinsically are born with these skill sets. So they just jump in the pool. you'd be like, we should be able to jump in the pool. We didn't know nothing about no swimming lessons.
Yeah, I did that and almost drowned.
It almost drowned to death.
Almost drowned.
How hard can it be?
Four-wheelers? What you mean the throttle was on the handles? We good. This is like a big wheel. No, it's not. It's not. It's not.
But the learning curve is dramatic. I mean, if you spend 20 seconds on a three-wheeler, four-wheeler, you pick it up right away because it's not like you're shifting like a motorcycle. That's got clutch and shift skills.
That's the dangerous part, Jay.
But the four-wheeler, it's like the jet ski. You just hit it.
Hey, see, that's the problem. You start feeling too good. Start wanting to do tricks. Don't be all standing up doing tricks.
See,
that ain't nuts.
No, I do all that. I'm not bungee jumping. I'm not skydiving.
You guys aren't living.
I'm not doing that.
I've done both. It's the biggest rush you can get on the planet. You're cheating death.
Earl grew up in the hood. He cheats death every day. I congratulate him. I text him, Earl, you good? Congratulations, brother.
You made it tomorrow.
Another day.
Yeah. No,
Man, you know what? It might become my life's mission to get you cats to jump out of an airplane.
Yeah, well, please.
I'll do it.
Now, I do want to take a lap around like Talladega or Daytona.
I've done that too.
Now
That's a blast.
I do want to do.
We need skydiving. Skydiving is something that's accessible to everybody. It's not that big a deal. It really isn't. And when you're done, the first thing you say when you hit the ground, let's go back up. I want to do it again. It's unbelievable. Both parts of it. The part where you're falling 120 miles an hour and it feels like you're in a wind tunnel, that's unbelievable because you're just watching the ground get closer and closer. And then you pull the chute and you hear nothing. You hear nothing, but you can see everything.
I feel it's a weight limit on that, and I'm over the weight limit. My whole backpack just come off. Like,
he's trying to get out of it. No, man, I'm not good on the weight waiver.
Weight waiver.
No, they got extra big parachutes.
Hey, man, if they don't let you get on rides at Cedar Point, there's no way you could be up with a backpack.
You can't ride.
Is there a ride?
No.
Hey, you know what? You guys, this is not even funny, but you remember the Tower of Terror type thing?
Yeah.
Where they put Big Boy in the ride and he didn't click him.
It didn't click. He didn't click. So
he fell to his death.
Off.
It was horrible.
He was like 17. Like,
he was a young kid.
I do remember that.
Big fella.
They try to push it like and it won't click. Yeah. It won't snap. I'm like, nah, bro. Plus, I got neck injuries. I can't be moving all around. I can't even dance no more. My neck, I'm not doing that. It's just cool.
Well, one day, I think I could talk you into it.
You might be able to get Earl in there.
But I forgot about your neck. That might be.
Anthony said he's
I'm
in
more
for
likely
skydiving,
to.
Anthony would do it too.
I'll skydive. I'm more likely to skydive than I would bungee jump.
All right. So if anybody in the UCSS verse has access to, knows someone that offers parachute or skydiving rides, you hit up UCSS and Mikey McNuggets. Oh, I was in Sandusky this weekend for one of my teammates, my cousin, had a surprise birthday party. And we did a big party, and then we all went out afterwards. And the place that we went in Sandusky was loaded with UCSS fans.
What?
Oh, it was. They were hardcore, like watch every dayers.
Nice.
And I think they said they've had their chats read before on the show, a couple of them. So they may or may not hit you up today, McNuggets, with tales that may or may not be true. I have no idea.
Also, we understand Ken Dorsey's speaking to the media right now.
That's right.
When he wraps up, when everything's said and done, we'll react to it. So we're well aware.
Jason's there, right?
Jason's there. He's going to call in with a live report after, but we'll get to that when it's done. It's hard to react without the true context and being able to listen in the moment. So we'll gather everything. And
what are you guys expecting from that? I'm expecting the first question is going to be, are you going to call plays?
It's already been answered. Teaser. We'll find out in 20 minutes what he said, but it was the first question asked.
Well, why don't we have the answer yet?
Well, I don't want to dive right into it.
Oh, so you already got it.
So you know the answer and you're holding it?
He said it's too early. He said it's too early to make a decision on who's calling plays. But I don't want to start.
The fans aren't ready to hear yet that Stefanski won't be calling plays.
McNuggets sound like my wife. You been knew that? You ain't let me know?
I'm just saying, I want to wait till we get all the information before we dive into it. But the first question was who's calling plays.
And he didn't answer it.
Kevin Stefanski said, guys, it's February 5th. We have plenty of time to figure that
out. Man, here it comes.
So we'll react to everything else.
I mean, if you guys don't see this unfolding, like I predicted when AVP got fired.
Which we'll also talk about.
That day, I said, Stefanski's not calling plays.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's it.
It's blooming.
Yeah, there is a lot to talk about there because Albert Breer, who is really, really dialed into Cleveland. He's a Cleveland fan. I think it's safe to say that, right? I think he's a Buckeye.
Well, it's funny because the two teams he's most plugged in with are the Browns and the Patriots.
Exactly, because he works in Boston. He covers the Patriots. But I think the thing that we need to, well, we'll tease it for later, but his explanation of what's going on is exactly what my theory was the morning after AVP was fired. So when I heard him talk, I said, he just confirmed everything I thought. Albert Breer is getting it from someone inside the Browns organization. Okay, McNuggets.
So we'll go Browns after we talk a little Cavs. But first, before all of that, it is Super Bowl week. Happy Super Bowl season to all who celebrate from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. If you're like me, placing bets on Super Bowl Sunday is the absolute best. It's a necessity, along with grabbing a great seat on the couch to watch the game and grabbing your favorite football snacks. And FanDuel's here to help you not just win one, but win 2, 3, 4, even more bets. We're going to put together an ultimate same-game parlay on UCSS throughout the week, which will start in about an hour here. Not only can you bet on who will win the Super Bowl this season, but FanDuel also has bets for which players will score a touchdown, how many points will be scored, and so much more. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets if their first bet of $5 or more wins. So visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to sign up. That's FanDuel.com/UCSS. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook sponsor of the NFL. And today's winning ticket comes from our guy, Akron Dre Day. He won 3 separate same-game parlays in the Utah-Philadelphia game last week. In total, the 3 parlays added up to equal $1,139.65. The one he sent us here was the smallest of the 3 plus 3,200 odds. He won $826 on a $25 bet. That was one of his parlays. The other parlay turned 15 into 154. He had a third, but you can only show 2 tweets on Twitter. So shout out to Akron Dre Day for a massive payday. And speaking of
Today
the
was a
NBA
good
guys,
day.
By the way, McNuggets, I won twice this weekend.
attaboy.
Wait a minute, on your 20 leg parlays?
Nah, I got a new joint. I got a new setup.
He got a new joint.
I got a new joint.
Someone hit up the show last week, and I saw your eyes light up like Christmas trees.
So you know what's crazy? Shout out to FanDuel. They got this thing. I don't even want to say it because I feel like they're gonna discontinue it right when I'm hot. Don't be playing around. You got to go through the FCC to do that, man. Don't be playing around with the odds, guys. But they got this thing where you could bet during the game.
Live betting.
And so the live betting is I'm over here. I hit twice on the over/under and on the point spread. So what I did is
not big paydays, right?
Oh, here's what I did. I pulled up. I'm like, okay.
Oh, so you went against the first half trend.
I waited to the fourth quarter. I saw the trends. I'm saying, okay, well, they ain't about to hit no over/under. I'm looking at the points or whatever, and I'm like, all right, well, let me go with the under on this one. Then I'm looking at the point spread. I'm like, this 12-13, this could be down to 8. I'm gonna go with the point spread. So I did that for 2 games. That was in tow in the fourth quarter. And you're right, you're not gonna get rich off of it. It's like $5 or $10. Right. But I said, oh no, well here's what I'm gonna do. This guaranteed, give me 100. So I put 100 on the point spread in the fourth quarter. It's like 5 minutes left for the Jazz and the Bucks. And guess what? Easy money.
Yeah.
Like 600.
Yeah.
Really?
600.
Yeah.
You got 6-to-1 odds on a money line?
Money line in the fourth quarter.
Live betting is the cheat code.
It's the cheat.
My friend, the one ticket that we showed that my friend hit, that long parlay he hit, he put $13 on that at halftime of that particular football game and won over $1,000.
Oh yeah, we had his ticket.
Yeah. So like,
I ain't never starting. I ain't starting no more before the game. I might get I'm gonna wait all halftime game. I could not believe that.
So I saw someone sent in a ticket last week, and you were like, "What?"
I said, "What?"
I might be on to something.
I said, he on to something.
All right.
Yeah. Shout out to FanDuel, by the way.
I can tell you this: from the sports fans that I run into, sports gambling is absolutely massive in this crowd. We read the numbers last week: $7.5 billion wagered in Ohio in 1 year.
I can see it.
7.5 B. And I can see it too because everybody that I ran into over the weekend wanted to know what's the spread on the Super Bowl? Which way you going?
Right.
What do you think about McCaffrey will score an anytime touchdown. People are talking about this like never before.
We're going to do segments all throughout the week.
All right.
McNuggets. Speaking of FanDuel, I think I'm going to take the over on Evan Mobley threes tonight.
That's a great place to start.
Wow, good transition.
On Saturday,
I'm taking the over.
on
Careful
Saturday,
now. One
Evan
game
Mobley
does not make a trend.
Saturday, Mobley made 3 threes, first time in his career. He had done that. Guys, is this a one-game blip in the radar for Mobley or a turning point in the young power forward's career as he progresses and hopefully transforms into
Someone thinks it's a turning point.
Into the unicorn it could be.
For me, I don't think that this one game is a turning point for his entire career, but I do think that this game could be a confidence builder in him improving his three-point shooting. Evan Mobley is 24% career, 24% from three in his career. In 24 games this year, one game took him up over 35%.
For his career?
For the season. But in totality, man, 3-point field goals made yesterday was his career high. He's never attempted more than Saturday. He's never attempted more than 6 in a game, and he did that last year against Toronto.
How many of those did he hit? Do you remember?
I think he hit 2. So, I mean, looking at it, I don't feel like that Evan Mobley is going to transform into some three-point assassin. I think it's good to see him hit his shots. I know this was a two-part question of, is this a turning point in his career? No. And I don't think that him being a three-point shooter, based off that, raises the Cavs ceiling. Because if we go by the numbers, which is a McNuggets thing, it's not really my thing.
Yeah.
3-point field goals made being 3 was his career high yesterday. So he's never made more than 2 in the game. Let's split it, say he makes 1, maybe 2 at most.
Yeah.
That's 6 points. That's a margin of victory in the NBA is way higher than that.
Sure.
So I don't think it does anything to raise the Cleveland Cavaliers ceiling, but if Evan Mobley can just develop and play more consistently around the board as far as defensiveness, just asserting itself, hitting the knockdown shots, things like that, I think that raises the Cavs ceiling more than him being a quote-unquote three-point shooter.
Yeah, G, what do you think? I mean, it's one game, but it was impressive. Wemby's long, hard to shoot over.
I think one thing that I think really helped him was the simple fact that you saw him going against Wemby, right? And I think he really took that to heart. I thought the way he played, he came out aggressive. And I think Evan Mobley being very quiet, you may not know how motivated he is, but I think he came out and wanted to show, him and Jared Allen wanted to come out and show, because they both outplayed Wemby. They showed that, hey, look, y'all calling him a unicorn, but we can get it done too. Both of them 28, 26 points, all of them over 10 rebounds. But specifically when you talk about his three-point shooting, I think this helps the Cavs based on one thing, and we talked about it before. It's confidence. When you hit three from three, what it does, it gives you the confidence to say, okay, I can hit that shot. And even if you don't hit 3 for 3, even if you hit 1 3, or even if you're consistently taking that shot, what it does, it makes people respect you. You got to respect it now. They can't leave you alone. And he may not shoot over 40%. Heck, he might not. If he's 32%, I'll take that. If he can make people respect him, if he can make Wemby have to come out from the basket, if he can make other forwards have to come out and guard that, it opens the floor up for Donovan Mitchell, drive it, and then you can still do some high-low stuff with Jared Allen. So for me, it was a good sign, not because he hit 3 for 3 and he's going to go 3 for 3 every game. It's because he saw the ball go through the hole. It gives him a little more confidence. And now it could be a coaching point that JB and the staff can say, hey, look how productive the team is when you can shoot that shot, and hopefully gives them more of a incentive and confidence to take the shot if it's there.
Well, for me, he obviously has to do it more than one game. One game
Right.
is definitely not a trend. How many times have we seen things in the NBA and think that, oh, wow, he had 30 points? Well, that could be a new baseline. And then, that player never hits 30 again. So I'm definitely not ready to sit here and say that he's a bona fide three-pointer. What I liked is, I think it was critical that he made the first one. Mm-hmm. That got us to number 2. And the fact that he made his second one got us to number 3. He has to have the shooter's mentality that I don't care if it goes in or not. Mm-hmm. I am going to take the shot because it absolutely changes the way the defense plays when I'm out here. They can't stand there and give him 6-8 feet of space if he's dropping them like that. They've got to respect that, and that's the whole idea of getting them out there to shoot. You want spacing. You want lanes. When you bring the defense out to the perimeter, it creates that. And the Cavs have shown over the last month that that's their best brand of basketball to play. When there's guys on the perimeter and there's all threats to make the three, things open up. And now you don't even really have to shoot the three. It's like having a nuclear weapon. It's a deterrent. I don't want to poke you in the bear. You might nuke me. Well, it's the same thing in basketball with perimeter defense and a guy like Evan Mobley who hasn't shown that he's got a nuclear weapon. Intel starts getting out real quick. Oh, he's got a nuclear weapon. Well, now you got to defend him. You can't just let him stand there and nuke you all day if he's going to do that. So I loved it. I hope it's a sign of things to come. I understand where you're coming from, Earl, and you don't think it necessarily raises the ceiling, but see, the mathematical formula is if you take 10 three-pointers and you're hitting 30%, out of those 10 shots, you walked away with 9 points. If you shoot 10 of your shots, mid-range jumper to in, underneath the basket, and you're a 50% shooter, which he is, and you take 10 shots, you just scored 10 points. So it all becomes an efficiency quotient. It's how efficient can you be with those 10 shots versus 10 shots that you can find underneath. And it might well work out that he's not hitting, because you got to hit over 33% before you can turn those 10 threes into more than you can make on twos.
Right. Yeah.
Even if he doesn't reach that point, I'm okay with him doing it because there's all kinds of hidden benefits that won't show up on the scoreboard or in his box score. It's going to open space, create lanes, and give other guys an opportunity. So I'm anxious to get McNugget's thoughts on this. I hope it's a sign of things to come. And the fact that he shot three, I think, is pretty big. He hadn't taken three in a game all year, had he?
He's taken three in a game a couple.
No, this year.
This year he's taken three.
Oh, he did? I don't remember.
He's taken three a few times. He's only played 24 games.
Right.
But to your point, I definitely agree with what you said. The reason why I'm standing where I'm standing at with it, I think it's a confidence builder.
Sure.
Like the way Mikey posed the question was, does this game like brings a turning point in his career? And
I can't go there.
And I don't think so.
Yet.
I definitely think it's a confidence builder because even with him going 3 for 3, the Cavs were still -7 with him on the court. And so I'm encouraged to see him take these shots because you're right, it does spread the floor. It creates more room for other people to maneuver. But for me, in order for the Cavs ceiling to be raised, I just need Evan Mobley to be more consistent.
Right, and that's fair.
Be more consistent taking these good three-point shots.
I get it.
Be more consistent on the defensive end of the floor. Be more consistent, and asserting yourself underneath the rim and things like that. So just be more consistent. And to me, that does more to raise the Cavs ceiling than him jacking up threes because I don't expect him to go 3 of 3 or 3 of 6 or things like that. So
we talked about it a little bit, implementing Mobley, implementing Garland more, right? They just came back and we talked about it, and I was texting Mike. I said, man, look, I don't like this. It looked different. The style of the game looked different.
When they both first
came back.
It slowed everything down.
Now I look at it, it seems like Evan Mobley, he got the picture. He got the calling card because he's like, okay, he looked way more comfortable than what Darius Garland looked. He looked like he knew where he wanted to attack. He was aggressive. He looked like he knew where he wanted to get on the floor in his spots, and he scored under the basket. He shot the threes. He extended the defense. But it seems like Darius Garland is still trying to figure it out. I mean, when you look at it, he hasn't even gotten 4. He got 4 assists last game, but look at the numbers: 4 points, 1 of 3. The game before this, didn't even have 4 assists. He failed to get 10 points. So this is a second game in a row where it looked like he was kind of disinterested, not disinterested, but not unsure of where he fit. Everybody else was moving. Donovan Mitchell playing with such confidence. Jared Allen is playing out of his mind. And then you get Evan Mobley to come in. Even Karis LeVert looks way more comfortable. And Garland is almost like, okay, where do I have the ball and how do I get guys involved?
That's the Rubik's Cube they've got to solve.
8 assists. Think about that. That means he's by default. He's the playmaker now.
He is now. So, I think if nothing else during his injury, Garland's injury, Like, I think that they realize we got to go 4 out, 1 in. I also think they realize that this team is just better when Donovan has the ball in his hand and he's creating at the front. Now, I think you're right, and I don't know if it's moping. I really want Mike to weigh in now, because I don't know if he's moping because he's hearing all the chatter that he's not going to be the point guard or the playmaker, the primary ball handler on this team. I don't know what it is, but he right now seems to be the moving part that hasn't fit into this new style. I don't know how they do it. I don't know, can they do it? I don't know. So
the numbers all say, and I'm a numbers guy, I don't think it's the end-all be-all, but Garland and Mitchell on the court together this season have a plus 9.2 net rating. So it's not the Cavs haven't been successful. It just looks different. It's kind of like the Flacco-Watson thing.
Okay.
The numbers are eerily similar. It just looked different, Flacco-Watson. This is not an exact comparison. I'm just drawing the picture. The numbers actually say Garland and Mitchell together have produced really good results. A plus 9.2 rating is one of the higher tandems on the entire Cavs roster. It's 4 games back. He has to change how he plays, which he's played his entire career. He's always been the best ball handler, the primary playmaker.
Do you think that'll be a problem for him?
No, he's really talented and he can shoot.
I don't mean the physical part. I mean the mental part.
I think anytime you ask someone to change,
especially because he's an established star.
Yeah. Mitchell's a bigger star, though.
No
so
question.
It's not like he's being asked to change to a newcomer. It's not like Karl Anthony Towns when they drafted Anthony Edwards.
No, you're right.
You were the guy, and now you're not. Mitchell was always a bigger star than Garland was, but Garland has the requisite skill set to be able to play off ball and alongside.
So we just have to hope and pray that he accepts that role.
And we've seen it with with Mobley and Allen. And there was one game, granted, small sample size, but the fact he took 3 threes at least kind of emphasized what JB said last week. Evan, we need you to shoot more threes.
That was the first time all year, by the way, that he's taken.
It was the first time. The first time. He's only made threes in 3 games this season. He had 3 against San Antonio. He made 1 against Indiana on October 28th, and he made 1 against Atlanta on November 28th. The only 3 games. He's made 5 threes this season now. That's it.
Well, what's encouraging to me is it's his first game with double-digit. He hit more than 1, so he hit 3. And I think you're right. He got the memo.
Oh, he saw it.
Here's the thing that I love about this team. They're all smart. They all have high basketball IQs. And when he was sitting and couldn't play, it didn't take him long for the light to go off. Oh, whoa. They're doing something different here.
Jared Allen out here eating.
He's different
eating today.
And he's smart enough to know, and I'm sure JB has had this conversation with him, look, this is who we need you to become. And I don't care if you miss threes. If you miss, keep shooting. And we're not talking about 8 a game.
Right.
We're talking 4 a game, I think would be a perfect number. Mike, am I off on that? How many threes would you like to see him take? 4 or 5?
I mean, I think it depends how the defense plays him. I don't want him chucking up 4 threes if they're helping. But if they're going to sag off him and he has the opportunity to shoot 3, 4, 5, I have no problem with him shooting open threes in the regular season.
I don't either.
If he's open, he should shoot it. If
that's it.
8 times,
that's it.
Evan, let it fly 8 times. If it's once in a game,
Whoa.
I don't think there's a number you have to hit. But if they're going to allow you to shoot those shots in the regular season especially, let it fly. Evan.
Let it go.
Let it fly.
I want to go back to something he said about Darius Garland. Mike said, like, anytime you ask somebody that's a star to change up what they do, it can cause an issue. If I'm Darius Garland, do I want to be the guy, or do I want to be a part of a team that could possibly go to the NBA Finals? I hear Jason Lloyd talk a lot about the Cavs really don't need to make a move. The Cavs have all the pieces. They're just young and they need to grow. And I think, like, in sports, the same way we do in the real world, we worry too much about public perception. I think the best move to be made is internal. And I think that you need to shake up that starting lineup and possibly bring Darius Garland off the bench because, like you said, he's trying to figure out how to insert himself into this new style of play.
Sure.
Well, if you can bring a dude like that off the bench and then let him just run this show while Donovan Mitchell is getting a breather, I think it makes more sense. Up until the game 2 days ago, I was a proponent of why not bring Evan Mobley and Darius Garland off the bench if it can work that way?
Right.
I just think, again, public perception, because one was the 2nd overall pick, because one is a max player, that most people will say you have to start these dudes. But having to start these dudes might not be the best course of action for the Cleveland Cavaliers.
I agree with that.
Don't worry about what the public say, what the mass say.
Gee, what do you say
do
to
what's
that?
best for your team.
Because I'm all for that too. It's just whether or not the players will embrace it.
You know, that's a thought-provoking thing because, like,
remember when Colin Sexton was asked to take a lesser role?
He was like,
he's up out of here.
He was like, I don't know how I feel about that. Here's the thing too, you know, if you look at the way they play, what is the maximum potential of the team? When you see Jared Allen with 26 or Mobley with 28, and both to 110 rebounds, 116 rebounds, I feel like if I could get that, I'd take that over Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland having 25 apiece.
Oh, I would too.
Because if you get
because they're still going to eat too.
Yeah,
they're going to get theirs.
If you get 20s from them, Cavs is now a bona fide contender because now what you're looking at, you got two guys that can defend, you got guys that can finish around the rim, and now Mobley is going to take that shot. We don't know if he's going to knock it down, but when you take a look at those two, it almost seems like it's almost telling the guys, hey, look, this is what we can do if we run through the bigs. Right. If we work through the bigs, it's going to make your life way easier. And I think Donovan Mitchell, he's cracked that in the matrix because if you watch him when he started this game, he came out and it was getting everybody involved. He was like, we're not going to let Wemby get out here and get highlights and make it feel like he's going to get off to a fast start. He got his big started fast, and Wemby was on an uphill battle the rest of the game, and Donovan still got his, right? It's just picking your points and picking your time.
Well, what's nice about that approach is when you get into playoff series and one team might be really good at defending bigs, then you come at them with the guards. What it does is it gives you other options and different ways to beat teams. And we all know, even in a series night to night, a team will decide, oh, no, that didn't work for us in game one, so we're going to take this away. Well, if you're a team that has multiple hammers, you just hit them with the hammer that's working. And I love the fact that it gives them many options. Here's, I think, ultimately what it's going to come down to as far as Garland's concerned. Is he mature enough, wise enough, and selfless enough to put the better good of the team in front of his numbers and his personal career? That's how teams win championships. When you look at those Golden State teams, they had guys that could do multiple things, but maybe one night, we don't need you to do that. We need you to do this. I thought Steve Kerr was very good night to night at finding out really early in the game what the other team was going to get him. He called a timeout at the 8-minute mark of first quarters. He brought his troops together and said, game plan out the window. They're going to play us like this, so we're going to switch it up and we're going to do that. And they had selfless players, diverse players, and a lot of different skill sets, and they were able to beat you with multiple different fronts, on multiple different fronts. I think this Cavs team, I do believe that the ceiling is higher if we get this version of Evan Mobley the rest of the way, and Darius Garland can find his spot. I don't think we have to have them both on the floor all the time together. First of all, whenever Mitchell's not in the game, Garland's in the game. That's always been the case. But he's going to get those minutes. Maybe you start resting Mitchell more. They're in the 3 seed right now. And with Philly and a big injury that they've had, the 2 is within reach, and who knows from there.
I just look at it like this, right? When we talk about the mental side of things, right? We know Darius Garland is talented. But you peep, Darius Garland is not in the closing lineup of games.
And I don't think that's by accident.
It's not at all. And
JB has realized what it is.
To me, that says a lot.
I
right?
think it does
that says a lot about who he trusts to get others involved. It says a lot about who he trusts as the leader. Like, just different things of that nature. You know,
I hope it doesn't fracture the team.
It shouldn't.
Because,
because if you're selfish,
it has before.
Like, if you want to be either Darius Garland, you want to be known as that dude, all-star max contract dude, or do you want to be known as that dude that's a part of a team that could possibly chase a ring? Like, that's the question you need to ask yourself. Because if JB Bickerstaff approach him and say, look, I want to shake things up. I want to try this. How about you be the 6th man? You come off the bench. You still get your 22, 23 minutes a game.
And you lose nothing with him off the bench as the
You lose
point.
nothing. You actually gain because if you bring a dude like that off your bench and then the other team is making substitutions, 9 times out of 10, you still got the best player on the court.
You got a one against there too.
And so, like, you got so many different moving parts and pieces to where I don't want to lose the role players and what they've contributed so far, right?
Yeah.
I don't want Sam Merrill to get lost. We're seeing Isaac Okoro play the best basketball of his career. Karis LeVert, when he's on, he's on. Yeah. And I just think shaking up the starting lineup, Jay, you don't need all 4 of these dudes starting.
No, I agree.
Like, it can make things better.
Would Okoro be the guy that you would start McNuggets? If you did, this theoretical, obviously it's a long shot. I think they're going to keep him in lineup. But would you go with the lineup would be Mitchell, Okoro, Strus, Allen, and Mobley? Theoretically.
I mean, I don't really care who starts. It's all about who closes.
I agree with that.
Right.
I think we as the media make way too much of who the starting lineup is.
I think the Cavs' best lineup, though, to close includes Darius Garland.
You do?
Yeah, I think Darius Garland, if you were asking today, Game 7 today, probably not. Yeah. But he's been back 3 or 4 games. He's still trying to figure out how he fits in. I think for the Cavs to be at their best, Garland and Mitchell are playing together, and then you can figure out the shooting.
Okay.
Anxious to see.
I got a
De'Aaron
question.
Fox is coming to town.
Yeah, great game tonight, by the way.
I got a question for you, Mike. Does it bother you that he only shot the ball 3 times in 23 minutes of play?
Do you think he's moping?
No, I mean, they were up big the whole game. Like, I have a hard time reading anything into a blowout on a Saturday night against San Antonio in a non-conference game. I didn't think it was a big deal. But they won by 22.
Let's see
23.
Let's see what happens.
And what happened at the end of the game is a bigger deal. I'll tell you about that in 1 second. I threw shark bait to the chat, and I asked, "Is Evan Mobley a shooter now?" 66% said no. So shout out to the chat.
They're smart.
For being real. We
that
appreciate
out.
that from the chat. Always intelligent stuff from the chat there. We're going to talk about the end-of-game kerfuffle between Donovan Mitchell and Zach Collins. Then we're going to talk Ken Dorsey because his presser just wrapped up. But first, a word from our friends over at FanDuel. It is officially Super Bowl season, and there is no better place to celebrate the Super Bowl than with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. If you're like us, Super Bowl Sunday is all about scoring the best seats on the couch, grabbing your favorite football snacks, and placing some super bets. And right now, FanDuel has a ton of different ways to help you end the season with a W or 2 or 3. Not only can you bet on who will win the Super Bowl, but you can also bet on which players will score touchdowns, how many points will be scored, and so much more. And today, new customers get $200 in bonus bets if their first bet of $5 or more wins. So make sure you visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to sign up. That is FanDuel.com/UCSS. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook of the NFL. At the end of the Cavs-Spurs game, the Cavs were up by about 20-ish points, a minute and a half left to play, and then Zach Collins did this. Steve, you can take tag board full here. If you hadn't seen it, it's as dirty as it gets. They'll show a replay in a sec, and here comes Donovan with the retaliation. Earl, Donovan Mitchell's a man who we have learned stands on business, and I can't for the life of me understand why players continue to try and attack him in dirty ways, especially with a minute left down 20 points. Why?
Man, one of the things that I really love about Donovan Mitchell, outside of the ability to just play basketball, I try to, like, really gauge somebody's, like, mentality. Like, this dude is an alpha male. Like, he's an alpha dog. He's a dude that stand on business. That's not a dude that you just finna, like, think you can do anything to out there on that court, and he just gonna stand there and take it. We seen this last year with Dylan Brooks. We seen it earlier this season. I think it was with Draymond Green, before Draymond Green got suspended. So Donovan Mitchell definitely stand on business, and he lets you know, like, I'm not nobody to play with. But what I like about that is it seems like it always gives the rest of the team energy, right? It seems like that type of approach, that type of alpha leadership, like your team feed off of that, right? And things like that's going to help you going further as you get to the playoffs. Because remember, this is a team that we talked about their toughness, their mental toughness being pushed around and things like that. And, like, he gets pissed off when these things happen. At this point, the game is wrapped up, and you out here being extra for no reason at all. Like, he did the right thing.
Yeah, I think he did the right thing. I will say, though, I saw this play differently, I think, than you guys did. Zach kind of half-heartedly threw an elbow. I didn't think
You know what it was, though, Jay? Not to cut you off. You know what it was?
I know the score has something to do with it.
If you, like, so I was preparing for getting my graphics and stuff together today, and if you go through and you look at some of the pictures and just some of the steals from the game the other night, he was getting whacked across the head and beat up all the time, and then he's probably like, you know what, at the end of the game, this is still happening.
That was the tipping point.
Yeah.
To me, I thought he took worse during the game.
Yeah.
And I was, at some point, surprised that he didn't retaliate earlier. And I think you're right. I think he had just finally had enough. But, I mean, I've seen guys do way worse than what Collins did. I mean, it looked to me like it was a non-committal elbow. He didn't even, he didn't throw his arms out at him. He almost, recoiled a little bit. But it was in total, they had been getting away with that all night. I think I'm glad he didn't because we didn't want to get him ejected earlier in the game. Yeah. But it does send a message to the rest of the league if they don't already know it. Don't mess with this guy.
Yeah,
because you are going to get the sword.
Yeah, well, when I was coming up, we was playing, and my defensive line coach used to say it all the time. We'd be in 2 days of camp, and he'd be like, "Hey, listen, I don't want to see nobody taking no extra stuff. You know, you going pass rush, one-on-ones, and you may lose, and all of a sudden the offensive lineman want to put the gravy on top. Don't try to act like you was doing me like that. You gonna put the gravy after the whistle blow, you fat boy? Listen, we don't like that. Get your hands off me." He's like, "Listen, you don't ever want to put nothing on film that you got to live on, because now the next day he cutting you. Now the next day they double teaming you." He said, "Bro, you got to fight. Sometimes hey, I'm not going to take certain things. I ain't going to take no hands to the face. I'm not taking that." And this was a prime example of, I'm setting this up for the playoffs. I'm just letting you know that I'm not going to be, remember Bugs Bunny used to be like, "I'm not going to do none of this, and none of this, and none of this." And then he's sitting there, and Elmer Fudd is getting beat up the whole doggone time. I'm not going to be Elmer Fudd out here, bro. You're not going to do me like that. And that's why Donovan Mitchell is the bona fide leader of the squad. You know why? He's the dude that if you playing, it don't matter who it is. It could be the Lakers, the Knicks, it could be whatever. He's not going to take that. And
I wish we would have seen that one time last year in the Knicks playoff series.
See, you know what? Here's I will tell you this. I think this offseason it rubbed off because Jared Allen is playing different. Jared Allen is a different cat right now.
He doesn't seem as timid or passive.
Yeah, he doesn't seem like the cowardly lion. He's just like, no, listen, he's ready to go. He has his sword sharpened. And I like the fact that Zach Collins was like, "Oh, I thought I was gonna get away with that little. That was light." He was like, "No, I'm here for all the smoke. I love it."
Yeah, I think long run, it's a really good message that this team needs to send, because I think their toughness was questioned last year in the Knicks series. I think that's that reputation has carried over to the regular season. All the guys are going to see this around the league, and they're all going to say, "Oh, okay, he's not going to stand back and take it." So I'd like to see one of the other players, maybe a Mobley or Allen, but I don't know that you can poke them hard enough to get a reaction like that out of either one of them.
I'm wondering, outside of Tristan Thompson, is there anybody else on this roster that's really built like that?
No.
I don't think there is.
These is dudes you let date your daughter or your sister or something, man. They were really respectful. They come over for Sunday dinner and bring a covered dish. You didn't even ask them to. You know what I mean? These dudes
maybe even a bottle of wine.
Well, yeah, listen, and then they shake your hand. "Hey, thanks a lot for having me." Listen, the Cavs then had to, if this is hard to say.
They do have good citizens.
They are nicer than the 80s Cavs. And if you're looking at the 80s Cavs, they were, Lenny Wilkins, listen, Lenny Wilkins is a first ballot Heaven Hall of Famer.
That's an example of a team completely embodying the personality of their coach.
Brad
Daugherty.
Larry
Rod had a little edge to him, but mostly those guys, they'd smile after you would beat them up.
Man,
hey, Curry, you didn't mean that. I know you didn't mean that.
Hey, listen, man. Great job, Michael. You hit another shot on us. These dudes is that nice. We can't have that in this NBA.
All right.
Ken Dorsey wrapped up, so we're going to talk about his comments in one sec. But if you missed it last week, the first episode of the Ultimate Cavs Show launched on Friday. Today is the first episode of the Ultimate Brown Show. G. Bush and Leroy Horde at 5 o'clock today on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show YouTube channel. Ultimate 216 launches on Thursday, and another Ultimate Cavs is coming to you on Tuesday. The full gauntlet of the Ultimate Team shows is launching here the next few days, but Earl the Pearl on 216 coming Thursday. G. Bush tonight, 5 o'clock, the first ever Ultimate Brown Show. So make sure you guys tap in and tune into G with that. Guys, we got some quotes from Ken Dorsey's press conference. Jason's going to join us at noon, by the way. So we're going to react, and then Jason will add some context to maybe what we missed. But let's start with the first, and it's two quotes tied together. So Kevin Stefanski and Ken Dorsey did a joint press conference. And the first question, as I alluded to, Jay, was about calling plays. And Kevin Stefanski said, quote, "We'll get there. It's February 5th, and I'm looking forward to putting together an offensive plan with Dorsey." Dorsey was then kind of asked the same question, and he said, "It's not as important as winning football games." Guys, how do you take that? Make of it what you will.
Well, I've heard or seen nothing that knocks me off of my initial theory. And, I'm not reporting this. This is just my opinion. This is just my theory. When AVP was fired, the first question was, what? That man pulled rabbits out of hats for 11 games with the lineups, and even though he wasn't calling plays, it just seemed like an odd place to start your house cleaning. An offensive coordinator that didn't call plays. And I said the morning after, the only answer for this is someone at the very tip top, not Kevin Stefanski, because I had sources telling me this was not a Stefanski thing. At least they didn't feel it was a Stefanski move. Ultimately, he may have delivered the news, but everyone that I talked to thinks that it just didn't come from Kevin organically. My theory was either Paul DePodesta or Jimmy Haslam made the decision at some point during the season, this is not the offense that I want my guy to run. I need Deshaun Watson to be a Super Bowl winner. And I haven't seen anything out of this play calling in this offense yet that can get him there, because this is their legacy move. Their legacy will be cemented on one thing. Does Deshaun Watson bring this city a Super Bowl? Because that was an all-in Super Bowl move. That wasn't a move to make the playoffs. They'd been there the year before. This was not that. So I think that Jimmy's frustration was building. He saw Joe Flacco come in here doing all kinds of things, and then all the whispers about, well, why can't Deshaun just do that? And Deshaun saying, that's not what I do. So I think the power struggle in the organization end up with AVP being gone, all as a precursor to Kevin no longer calling plays. They went out and hired a offensive play caller in Ken Dorsey, even though he had been fired halfway through last year, and the Bills' offense did get better. I do not think they brought him to be here to be Alex Van Pelt.
No,
I do not.
Not at all.
And what I hate more than anything is, now look, I could be wrong. 3 weeks from now, Stefanski may take the podium and say, I'm calling them, my plays. And then if that's the case, I will stand here and say I was way wrong. But I don't think that's coming. And I even think that more now because they don't know. It's only February 5th. Like, the first question I'm asking if I'm an offensive coordinator on a job interview is, am I here to be Alex Van Pelt and the GOAT, hey, or am I calling plays?
Hey, Jay, I'm calling plays or no?
That's the number one question.
I'm calling plays or no?
And the fact that they're ignoring the elephant in the room is a little insulting. I don't know. That's just how I feel.
So I was at home sick, and I remember watching the show, watching Twitter, seeing the news, and I tweeted out right away. I said, Alex Van Pelt being fired feels weird to me. It never felt like a Kevin Stefanski move. Like you, it just didn't read. It didn't make sense, man. Right. We just started 5 quarterbacks in 1 game. Like, how in the hell is this dude getting fired? And last I checked, we never really knew technically what he did. We knew what his job title was, offensive coordinator, but we didn't know enough about him to none of us all season long came up and said, you know what? We need to fire that damn Alex Van Pelt.
I didn't hear one person say that.
He is not getting the job done.
Not one.
So when it happened, immediately the first thing I said was, this is either Paul DePodesta or Jimmy Haslam. And I'm like you, and I said this on the barbershop about a month ago, and I stand on it. Kevin Stefanski will not be the Cleveland Browns play caller for 2024. You could damn near book it. You could damn near take it to the bank. I'm like, Jay, I'm giving you my opinion, but this is what I feel. You don't fire Alex Van Pelt to bring in a Ken Dorsey
to do the same thing.
Yeah. That's parallel. You might as well just kept who you had. But furthermore, if Jimmy Haslam really did come down and told him, hey, 1, you got to fire your OC. 2, you not calling plays, you better off just firing Kevin Stefanski. Like, because you handcuffing him to the point to where now he has to do what you want to do, and he can't run his football team the way that he wants to. So instead of doing all this and being extra, you should have just fired the man.
G?
Yeah, I'm gonna take a different route at this. Jimmy Haslam bought the Cleveland Browns in 2012. I believe at that time he was 58 years old. Today, Jimmy Haslam will be 70 years old in a March. And the life expectancy of a male in the United States is 77 years old.
Oh, so he hears the clock ticking.
When you a man and you got money can last you a long pride. I got a bunch of money, but when you start hitting them prime years, them tip-top years, you start looking at legacy and you start looking at what you're leaving behind. You can't take that money with you. And for a man of his age, at 70 years old, we talk about a 3-year plan, a 5-year plan, all that year plan, and I keep trying to tell you, it's all about the plan that the person who's making decisions is. This was, I'm a 70-year-old man with 7 years looking down the barrel, if I'm lucky. I got a bunch of businesses. I got a lot of stress. I run a lot of stuff. That could be 74, 75, right? So when I'm looking at it, he looking at it like, hey, I know that, hey, you guys had a nice year, but we don't care about nice years. I'm looking at it. My wife is 70 years old. We want to see this thing through because we are in legacy mode. We're not in, let's look at a 10, 20-year plan. So when Barry and Stefanski is coming with these plans, Deep Podesta, he's telling them, hey, give me the stats to get us to a Super Bowl in the next 2 or 3 years. Because here's the thing. He may not even be here for a rebuild. He may not even be here for a long-term rebuild. Heck, he may not even see another quarterback past Deshaun Watson. So you know what he did? All his chips is in the middle of the table. And that's very uncomfortable because that's a different timetable than what young men have. Stefanski is very young. Barry is 12 years old.
Chill out. Me and him the same age, and I ain't 12.
These dudes is young. So when you see them, you got a young head coach and a young GM, their timetable, and Jay, you know it. The way I think about life today is totally different than the way you think about life.
You bet.
There's certain things that don't even compute to you. I ain't doing that. And for me, it's the same thing with Earl. There's certain things I think about right now that Earl don't think about, right? It's just everybody at different stages. And I think Jimmy Haslam showed that he's at a different stage where it's like, it's either now or never.
I completely agree, and I know we got to move to the next quote, but here's the last thing I'll say to that. Look, it's Jimmy's right. He has the billions. He writes the checks. He makes the tough calls. I'm fine with that. But don't hide behind all this nonsense.
Just say you did it.
You are the owner. We don't have to like these moves. Here's the thing. If you like them, you believe in them. Then pound your chest and say, on this day, I am removing Alex Van Pelt from the organization, and we are currently looking for our next play caller. And here's my promise to fans. I'm going to go out and I'm going to find the best available play caller, and he's going to be the guy that takes us to the Super Bowl. I'm fine with that. He's the owner. He can do that. But just own it. Don't make Kevin Stefanski have to sheepishly fall on a sword and be like, yeah, I fired Alex Van Pelt, my long-lost buddy, and I don't know who's going to call plays next year. Stop playing theater. This is real.
Hey, Mike, I know you got to move on, but it's so funny because it's like 3 mutual friends in the room, right? And Jimmy is the dude that's talking about everybody behind everybody back. And then once the people get in front of the cameras and they ask, well, who said that?
Yeah.
Everybody sit up there pause like, well, it's February 5th. We'll talk about that later.
We'll tell you later.
I also think, and it was just really quick, I also think that we hear Deshaun Watson called a lot of things. Don't think that didn't translate to.
I agree.
When you a man of stature and you hear Predator, how could you sign this guy? You guys are devoid of any soul. All that kind of stuff. The only way he get that off, that's on his playbook. The only way you erase that is if you win and you could change the narrative.
That's it. Now, one last comment. Jimmy brought him here. And we're trying to eliminate excuses, right? Isn't that kind of what we're doing? Like, there's a bad seed in here, and we're trying to find it. So if you keep throwing seeds out, and there's only one seed left, but what he's done now is he's brought a new seed in, and we don't know.
Right.
So if we get to week 10 and Deshaun still looks mid, then everybody's going to look at Ken Dorsey instead of Deshaun Watson.
I think Deshaun is it's a make or break year for him too.
Well, the next quotes are about Deshaun. So let me give you what Ken Dorsey said on Deshaun. These are from 3 different reporters, a couple different quotes, but all ties back to Deshaun. Tom Withers says Dorsey's already connected with Watson, excited about working with him. Zach Jackson, Dorsey calls Watson one of the top quarterbacks in this league. Looking forward to the opportunity to help him go out and prove that. And last but not least, and maybe most interesting from Hayden, doesn't sound like Ken Dorsey is going to budge on scripted plays for Deshaun Watson.
So I'm guessing someone asked him, do you like to come into games with scripted plays? And he must have said, yeah. But again, the assumption is he's going to be calling the plays. I think we're even beyond that now. The media has already moved beyond the charade and the theater of this. We don't know who's going to be our play caller.
Collectively, we like, okay, yeah, we hear you.
Yeah,
So
Hayden properly put it into the context as if he's saying, look, stop the games. We know Ken's going to be the play caller. And by the way, he's not a fan, or he is a fan of the scripted 15. I will say this about the scripted 15, which we learned last week, that it doesn't always, when we hear script, we think 1, 2, 3. But after digging and talking to some players, we've learned that 15 might be, it's probably better to call it your favorite 15.
Yes.
And you probably have 3 plays that work that you really love on 1st and 10, or maybe 5, because you know you're going to face a myriad of 1st and 10s. Then you probably have a handful for 2nd and short, or 2nd and 7s if you stay on schedule. Then you have your short yardage plays. Then you probably have a couple that are 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, and long yardage. And so what it is it's those are the 15 that you come back to because we worked on those the most in practice. But it doesn't mean we run play 1 and then 2. Hell, what if play 3 is a 3rd and 1 and it's 3rd and 30?
If you guys haven't watched, go back and check out that Flacco interview, and he does a good job of explaining the concept of scripting plays. And he also says, it's like a menu of favorite plays, and you could get all the way to almost halftime and still have 7 or 8 plays left that you want to call. But you have to stay on schedule. But that's more of along the lines of these are the plays we kind of went over. We like these plays. We think they could work. Sometimes you run all of them, they stop you, and then you got to go off script in the second half.
And just for the record, Deshaun Watson kind of further explained this.
He did.
He says, I have no problem being coachable, doing what my coach tell me to do. If my coach say this is what we're running, this is what we're running. He just said I'm not a fan of it. So with Ken Dorsey here, maybe they can meet in the middle. The 15 are what the 15 are. But maybe when you send him out there, okay, this is where we go. This is scripted play 1. But here's 2 other plays you can audible to.
Sure.
You get to the line of scrimmage. And you do what you think is best.
And Deshaun said in the interview where he was kind of answering to Bull's criticism that if you look at my career, throughout my career, I have always been better in the second half than the first half, and I have always been better in the second half of seasons than I was in the first half. I like to think I get better as it goes on. I'm fine with the scripted 15. I'm going to run them the best of my ability. But he made it clear that it's his preference to open the whole menu. And I think there's a lot of credence to that, too. We have Jason?
He's coming on in 1 sec. I got one last quote, and we have to ask him about this. I have no idea what the context is. Once again, we're taking these from Twitter. Quote from Ken Dorsey. It was darn near like a root canal to get this job.
Jesus.
End quote. What do you think that means?
Painful.
Obviously, no context because we'll hear from Jason.
Jason will hopefully clear it up and give it proper context. But my take on that is I use root canal as a way to describe anything that is lower than the pain threshold of my ACL surgeries.
Yes.
For you, I can say to you, because you've had ACL, I can say, bro, I'd rather have ACL awake than go through that. To me, that's painful. Yeah. If you haven't had an ACL, maybe it's a pretty good chance you've had a root canal. To me, that's like the next on the pain threshold. Those things suck. And usually when you say root canal, you're using it in a way of you're talking about a lot of pain and discomfort.
And then the recovery part of it. The way I take a look at that is it shows you when he said he goes through the interview process. If you've ever been interviewing for like corporate jobs or something, or you've interviewed people, you have an initial interview, it's a phone interview. Then you have to take an assessment test to make sure that you actually can spell, read, or write. Then after that, they bring you back in and you meet with the managers. There's 2 of them. They ask you questions, and then give me a time where you weren't able to meet your goals. And they sit there writing the whole time. After that, you meet with the main manager. He talked to you. You're like, okay, well, dang, I've been here 35, 40 minutes.
When's the last time you was challenged in your field?
You're right. Like, no,
so a lot of steps to it.
A lot of steps. He probably went to talk to Stefanski. He probably talked to Barry. Then he got to the last interview and it was D. Podesta, D and Jimmy, and him. And it's like, dang, how many times?
He ain't talked to Deshaun.
Right.
And
Deshaun probably was first.
He was the first one.
And they had to get him to sign off. But it's interesting. I have a friend who, a former coworker of mine, who was interviewing for a job with the Browns organization, but it was actually a crew position. Okay, because they do a lot of it's all combined into Jimmy and D's sports umbrella.
Yeah.
She's smart, she's qualified, she's competent, she's experienced. She told me the initial posting, she goes, "Do you think this would be something for me?" And I said, "Absolutely." She applied, she got a first interview. She interviewed like 4 or 5 times with all different levels of managers. First phone, then Zoom, then face-to-face, then face-to-face with higher echelon managers. And you know what I told her? She ended up not getting the position. It came down to her and one other. They hired a person that actually had experience in that exact role that she was applying for. But it opened my eyes to the Browns. I immediately said, that's what good organizations do. They put you through the gauntlet. This is one of the top 10 jobs in the organization. You better find the right person. So I don't know that that's the context he meant, but I hope he went through a lot of different layers of interviews. I think you're more likely to get the right person the more rigorous the process is. So I'm okay with that.
Even when he was interviewing, we got to a point when I left my last job before I got here, they even went to a protocol where we interviewed our boss. So we were all middle-level managers, right, over all these different things, right?
A mock interview?
Basically, they brought her in, and she was going to be the director of our department. And and all the team leaders interviewed her.
That's interesting.
And then we reported to the big dude.
Who you wanted.
To the big boss, and give me your feedback.
I like that. That's an interesting way of doing it.
Right.
All right, we have
we're
Jason,
going to go live to Berea now with Jason Lloyd, who was at Ken Dorsey's press conference. Obviously, we were reacting to just tweets. Before we bring in Jason, a quick reminder that FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook, and there is no better place to win on Super Bowl Sunday than with FanDuel. It's about getting the best seats on the couch, grabbing your favorite football snacks, placing some super bets, and watching the Super Bowl with some super friends. And FanDuel has a bunch of different ways to help you end the season with a W or 2 or 3 or hopefully even more. Not only can you bet on who will win Super Bowl 58, but FanDuel also has bets for which players will score a touchdown, how many points will be scored, and so much more. And today, new customers get $200 in bonus bets if their first bet of $5 or more wins. So just visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to sign up. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook sponsor of the NFL. Let's bring in Jason Lloyd from the Athletic, a UCSS OG. What's up, Jason?
What's up, guys?
What's your takeaway?
Very bland, very boring, not really a lot there. Obviously Kevin got the play calling thing out of the way and said we'll get there. I think we know how it's going to end, though. It's going to wind up with Ken calling the plays. That's why he's here. And then Kevin got off the podium and left it to Ken. So Kevin didn't even take any questions on it. He'll have to do that at the Combine in a few weeks here, coming up at the end of the month. And, I thought it was a little unusual that he didn't stay and take questions, but I guess kind of not, because you want Ken to be the focus of this today. And then Kevin will talk about it, obviously, more in depth at the Combine.
Why the song and dance?
Not really a lot said, though. Not really a lot said.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Why the song and dance on who's going to call plays? I mean, you made the decision. Own it. Let's move on. Why draw this out another couple of weeks or months?
I think probably because it looks worse if you come in today and declare he's calling the plays. You know what I mean? Then it's really what's going on here? So, they'll probably announce it not till training camp. Maybe even later. I don't know.
Wow.
But I think
then.
Yeah, I think that they want to get together, learn each other a little bit. Kevin said they sort of came up through the coaching ranks together. I don't know how much of a relationship they really had, though. Their paths really never crossed. But they got to build a little camaraderie between the two of them. Kevin mentioned AVP at the Open. Said, you guys know how I feel about him, how I feel about him as a person, as a coach. But, then scurried off the podium, so we weren't really able to follow up on that as to why this came about. But I think we know why it came about. The topic of Heavy today was, his work with Cam Newton and Josh Allen in the past, and, his comfort level with mobile quarterbacks and handling quarterbacks who are dual threat guys. And, he didn't really get into what the offense will look like. Acknowledge that there's probably some differences between how he views things and how Kevin views things. There'll be things that they agree on. There'll be things that they disagree on, and they'll have to come together on that and figure it out. It was brought up what Deshaun said about he doesn't love the scripted plays, and Ken said there are certain things that are tenets that are staples that you say, this is how we're going to do this because this makes us better and this is going to help us win. And there's other things that you can look at and say, well, if you're not comfortable with that, then we don't have to do it that way. But he wouldn't classify which bucket scripted plays falls into. So he'll fit in perfectly around here because he didn't really say a whole lot.
Jason, so along those lines of his work with quarterbacks that's dual threats in the past, was anything said about Ken Dorsey being the quarterback coach as well as the offensive coordinator?
Yeah, probably a bad job by us. It didn't come up, but I think he will be. I think he is going to be. That's what AVP was last year. I think Ken will be the quarterback's coach in title, but I don't have any official confirmation on that. That's just probably how it's going to go. They got to replace Bill on the offensive line, and that was really the only change that they talked about still to come.
Yeah, Jason, that's, you talked about, I'll be interested to see the mix. The way Deshaun talks, I mean, he sounds like he trying to do 70-30 pass. Like, is this going to be a thing where they say, hey, look, was Jimmy upset at the fact that Deshaun was not developing as fast as he thought he should? Or was he upset at the fact that they weren't throwing the ball as much as they should that causes change?
Yeah, I think it's more of the development of Deshaun and how Deshaun looked in this offense is what predicated it. And Ken said something today about he's not opposed to running the ball, and running for touchdowns is great too. But, they are going to be pass happy. They're going to be a throw happy offense. I would just hold up 4 years of evidence and say, well, they had a ton of success in this offense and great quarterback play. He got great quarterback play out of Kirk Cousins in Minnesota, out of Jacoby Brissett, out of Joe Flacco, out of all these has-beens, never-weres, and he's had great success with it. Took this offense, the Niners have taken this offense to the Super Bowl, and yet Deshaun's the one that's, struggling with it. I thought he looked good at times. At times he didn't look good. But, to me, the offense wasn't the problem. But, this is what happens when you commit $230 million to the guy, and he's gonna run your franchise at that point. So you're going to do everything you can to put him in the best position to succeed. And I don't want to sound too down. Like, it could work. It could work fine.
Right.
It feels a little icky the way that we're getting there, but a lot of things about the Browns feels icky at times.
Yeah.
So it could work fine. And Ken could come in. He could call it the way Deshaun sees it, and they could just roll next year, and everything would be great, and this will long be forgotten. But it just doesn't sit right with me the way that they're getting to this point.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because I feel the same way. Browns fans, I think, deserve. Look, when we put up with what we've put up with for all these years, and we just keep coming back to the well, and we keep dropping our money on this product, treat us as adults. Don't insult our intelligence. Look, it's perfectly fine if Jimmy Haslam and Paul DePodesta have come to the conclusion that where this offense was going isn't going to take them where they need to be. Okay, that's your decision. Ultimately, it's going to come out in the wash that it was your decision. Why do the charade of, we're firing AVP. Everybody's looking around the room like, AVP? What the hell did he have to do with anything? And then, just, you know what? I would respect Jimmy more if the day after the season, he called the news conference and he came to the podium and he said, this isn't a Kevin move. This isn't an Andrew Barry move, because ultimately these are going to be pegged to those guys for a certain amount of fans, and just say, this is a Jimmy Haslam move. I owe it to the fans to give you a Super Bowl. And I've made the assessment that we weren't going to get there with AVP or with Kevin calling the plays. So I'm making an executive decision. That's what owners can do. And I'm bringing in a play caller. The search is open. We're going to bring you the guy that we're all going to fall in love with, and then just move on. Instead, it's this protracted song and dance, smoke and mirrors, even some mistruths that are probably being uttered because people are trying to protect other people. In the meantime, we've seen this before. We all know what it is. Just do it. Just get to it. And I'm with you, Jay. If this works, I'll be the first one to say I was wrong. And everybody will praise Jimmy and Paul if it works. But I think what they've done, and this is an unintended consequence of doing this, is they've thrown in another component and another potential excuse for Deshaun. Because we were kind of like eliminating those, and now you're going to bring in another play caller, and if it doesn't work, week 8, we're all going to sit around and say, maybe it's Deshaun, but maybe it's Ken. So we've added another potential excuse into the mix, which may delay getting to where we need to be even more.
Well, I agree with the first part, what you said about Jimmy, and he'll have that opportunity next month. I don't know that he'll take it and do what you said, but he'll meet with the media at the owners' meetings. It's one of the 2 times a year they talk, and it's in a very small setting. It's about the best time to have access to them. We'll see what he says. Probably not what you said, but I tend to agree with that. The second part, no, there are no more excuses. This is all Deshaun. This is him. If it doesn't work, it's on him. Now, Kevin will be the one that gets fired if it doesn't work. It won't be Deshaun. But this is all on Deshaun from this point on. If it doesn't work, that falls on your quarterback, because they've done everything they can to set him up for success. What I think they've done is they've stripped a little bit of Kevin's power away.
I feel that,
and that's
too.
And that's more. It's not I was wrong. I admit all the time when I was wrong. This isn't okay, I was wrong. Like, again, this could work. But the path that they're taking to get there, it just feels a little slimy and a little icky. And I think that they've eroded some of Kevin's power in that franchise by doing it this way.
Yeah, I'm fearful that that's the exact same thing. And how ironic it's going to be if he goes on to win Coach of the Year. We don't know. It's it's probably between he and D'Amico Ryans. But one way or another, the guy was in the conversation for 2 of his 4 years, and you're likely stripping his power coming off of a year where I thought he just pulled hats or rabbits out of hats all year long.
Yeah.
And now, oh no, you're not going to be the play caller anymore. It's like, it's mind-boggling to me, but that it is what it is. Jay, thanks. I know you got to run. Thank you.
All right. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Okay.
Yo,
Jay, go ahead.
Jay, listen. As he's talking, I'm thinking about so many different things, right? Like, they are night and day talking about Ken Dorsey and Kevin Stefanski when it comes to personality. Like, now I'm wondering, how is it going to look? How are they going to mesh, because their personalities are different? Is Ken Dorsey going to be on the sideline or up in the booth, right? What type of relationship, what type of energy will he bring to this team, kind of like what Jim Schwartz did?
Well, did we show the clip on the show of Dorsey losing his temper in the box?
Yeah,
it was an NFL clip. So
it was one of the greatest gifts of all time.
I'm just looking at
maybe
this.
we need some of that.
Right, maybe we do, maybe we don't. I don't know. I'm looking at this whole thing, and I agree with Jason. Like, it could work, and if it does work, great. We talk all the time about, man, we cheer for the orange and brown. So no matter if we really think a move is a good move or a bad move, we support all moves, because me, you, and you, we want to see a Super Bowl.
Sure.
That's what we want. So
and if this gets us there, Jimmy Haslam will be
we're
lauded
all for it,
as
but
a genius.
What he said about taking Kevin's power away, it goes back to what I said the first segment. If you're going to do all of this, man, why just fire the man? Why are you stripping him so much? Why are you handicapping him in so many different ways? Like,
I think Kevin deserves better.
He does. He definitely does.
You know what, guys? This was all in front of your faces. We just didn't see it. Let's be honest with you. When they gave Watson that 230, he was always in charge. You just didn't know it. you didn't have a chance to see it.
I think he's third in charge.
Hey, if it goes D, it goes Jimmy, D, and Dennis Watson.
I don't think so.
I'm gonna keep. Here's why I know.
Even more than Paul DePodesta?
Yes. Here's why I know, because he's a player and he plays. They need somebody to play. Here's why I know. You notice Deshaun Watson not this year, but the year before. We didn't see no podcasts, no interviews, no quotes, not too much Instagram, nothing. Lay low. This offseason, he got a podcast. He out here on the gram. He moving around. He telling what he don't like and what he do like. That didn't just happen because he's comfortable.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
That happened because they didn't had that conversation.
He's three.
Like
he's
that reassurance. Hey, listen, don't even worry about that. I know it's Kevin Stefanski. He called and play. Don't even worry about that. He doing good this year. That 12-5. They made the playoffs. That's placebo. We don't even worry about that. Deshaun, what you want to get done? That confidence comes from the top man that says, hey, I don't care. You go tell your story. Do whatever you want. Deshaun comfortable to a point right now where it's like he knew it. You think he didn't know AVP was out of here? He been knew that.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Because I think every coach, if you hire them, get their quarterback.
But you know what they did? If it was possible to make the Deshaun trade even more controversial and contentious, they not only gave him an unprecedented guaranteed contract, they then threw him the keys to the castle. And it was already, for me, it's all or nothing. This is a make or break move.
You had to go in.
You win a Super Bowl, it was a great move, and Jimmy, you'll be hailed as one of the great sports owners in the history of Cleveland. We will forgive you for 0-16. But if you don't,
hey, have you ever gambled and you've been losing and you've been losing and you've been losing and you losing 5, you ever lose 10,
then
lose
you throw
15,
good money after bad money,
and then you say, you know what? I got 1,000 on black.
You lose that.
I've seen guys do that.
Right, like
One last hurrah, G.
I've seen guys do it.
He got one last. He said, I done already took the shots. I done took the shots for him.
So
I might as well
now
go
think
ahead
about
and
it.
win.
So what he did was he decided to replace a potential 2-time coach of the year in a 4-year span, a guy who looked like a freaking magician this year offensively, working different offenses with different personnel, 5 different quarterbacks. He decided, I'm going to replace him with the guy that got fired halfway through last season. Okay.
Yep.
Look, if it works, all hail Jimmy Haslam.
I just feel like
if it doesn't, your legacy just got a little worse.
It's the Haslams, it's Paul DePodesta, Dennis Deshaun Watson. But
I think that you might be right on that. I think Paul has Jimmy.
Paul got juice.
I think we should really. Paul and Jonah Hill are the same guy. Jonah Hill played Paul in Moneyball. And in truth, that's the guy that Jimmy became infatuated with. Jonah Hill.
If you've ever watched the Tudors, it's a good show. I think it's on Cinemax. He's the hand of the king at this point.
Man, if this thing doesn't go the way that we expect it to go, I think from a player standpoint, absolutely, Deshaun Watson is the last person
Don't start
standing.
1-4.
He's the last man standing. Kevin won't be here. Ken Dorsey won't be here. He will be here. But trust me, Paul DePodesta have been here longer than anybody.
Yes, he's survived multiple regimes.
Anybody. That dude
he has Jimmy's ear.
He the man with the real juice.
Jimmy saw Moneyball, and he's like, man, I like that
That's him.
Jonah Hill.
Gee,
I got to get that guy.
I wonder if that'll come up tonight on the Ultimate Brown Show, which debuts tonight, 5 p.m. Make sure you tune in on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show YouTube
make sure you
channel
check
for the
that out.
debut of the Ultimate Brown Show with G. Bush and Leroy Horde. Over the weekend, guys, it was on Friday actually, but Albert Breer, who's plugged in with Cleveland, he also works in Boston, had some interesting comments on what we've talked about for the last 20 minutes. So I want to just play these comments for you guys, and we can react quickly because we kind of already touched on it a little bit. But this is from Albert Breer's mouth to the national media audience on 98.5 in Boston.
One key here that people will miss if they don't know it, right? So in Cleveland, the reason he was let go in Cleveland was because ownership and Paul DePodesta, not Kevin Stefanski, ownership and Paul DePodesta were frustrated with the progress Deshaun Watson had made. I don't think that they really, truly, the people who made that decision really, truly knew his value to that staff. And other people on that staff, not so much Kevin, but people below him, were floored when they fired him for 2 reasons. Number one, How do you fire the offensive coordinator after you just won 11 games with 4 different quarterbacks, with your 4th and 5th tackles, without Nick Chubb,
including at least 2 or 3 of those guys that nobody's ever heard of, right? I mean, you're talking about Jeff Driscoll, P.J. Walker, Dorian Thompson-Robinson. Like, those are some of the guys he was working with.
So you just went through that, right? He was able to help build an offense that was able to sustain with Joe Flacco coming off the couch, with their 4th and 5th tackles, without Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt coming back in. So there's that. Like, that I think is one reason why people there were floored that he got fired. The other one I think is the real key, though. He was the glue of that staff. Kevin, if you know him, he's a great guy. He's not the most outgoing guy. You know, he's just sort of like his personality is very dry. He's got a good sense of humor, but he's not like this outwardly gregarious guy. Alex was the one that held that staff together. When guys were coming out, when guys were going in, he is a guy who was a unifying force in that building. And after the year the Patriots just came off of, I think at one point the idea was somebody like Van Pelt as a senior offensive assistant and then a younger play caller underneath him. Not underneath him, but like the younger play caller with the senior offensive assistant backstopping him. I think I might feel slightly better about it if that was the way it was, but I think AVP is way more qualified than a lot of the other guys they interviewed, just because he doesn't maybe have the look or he isn't the age that of a lot of the guys that have succeeded in that role.
He doesn't have the tight pants and the coiffed hair.
Right. Like,
so that ends up wrapping the talk Patriots for a little bit. But, guys, your reaction to Albert Breer saying what he said on a Boston radio station on Friday?
For diehard fans will know Albert Breer.
Yeah.
Albert's reputation is as good as they come. He is knowledgeable. He is plugged in. He works extremely hard. He's got a lot of contacts in and out of locker rooms, hierarchy with general managers and front offices. He is a pro's pro at this stuff. Therefore, I felt not vindicated. I just felt even stronger in what I thought was going on, because he confirmed every one of my notions, every one of them, that this was Paul and Jimmy. Kevin didn't want to do it, and that AVP was silently much more valuable to this machine than anyone on the outside knew. And so that scares me even more, because, again, he was well-liked. We talked about you can't bring Joe Flacco back, because if you do and Deshaun struggles, everybody's going to look at Joe as like when we put Joe in the game. Well, the problem with what they've created is, if it doesn't work, you said last year, you all got 6 games.
Yep.
6 games. Go prove it. If it doesn't work early and things go sideways, you lose the locker room.
That ratchets it up. I wouldn't say 6. They got 4.
It might be 4.
And in those games, see, the reason I don't have a problem with it is, I guess how I feel. Much is given, much is required. Hey, listen, if you want your name on the show, right? When the ratings is good and your name is on the show, you win it.
You own it.
You own it. But when the ratings go down, you can't be turning around and say, I don't got good producers and support staff. At the end of the day, you can't do that. So Deshaun, listen, he has the juice, and we're not used to having franchise-level, big-name quarterbacks. We don't have that here, and we have not had it in Cleveland. So we don't understand that it looks like this a lot of the ways in other places with big-name quarterbacks. Now, here's the problem. You got to pick your guy? That's great. You picked him. Now, you got to protect your guy. And how do you protect the people that you put in place, Deshaun? Come in and throw for 330. Come in and throw for 315 and 3 touchdowns. Come in and throw for 295 and 66 on the ground and 2 more touchdowns. And then guess what? Now everybody's like, oh, brilliant move. But if you come out and struggle, and I like pressure. People say, don't put the pressure on the court. I love pressure, because it's going to tell me what you're all about. I'm not going to get to know about you when everything is fine and dandy and it's 72 degrees and you got your boat shoes on and everything's cool. I need to know what you talk about with that pressure on. That pressure is coming. I just want to see if you live up to it.
Man, I think that often a lot of people feel like we overblow and overhype the dismissal or firing of a position coach or an assistant coach, and fans will write it off to, well, this is the offseason and you all don't have anything to talk about. Other people might feel like it's just a position coach, it's no big deal. But go to Buffalo, ask Sean McDermott, how he feels not having Brian Dable, not having Leslie Frazier on that coaching staff, and tell me if it made a difference in how he goes about his business on a day-to-day. AVP was very well respected, very well liked. And I pray that this situation with Ken Dorsey work out, because if not, then it's going to look like the Browns made a big mistake. People forget, the year that Baker Mayfield was drafted, that final preseason game against the Detroit Lions, Baker got the start. You know who was the play caller? AVP. And when AVP got the opportunity to call plays in the playoff game that the Cleveland Browns beat the Pittsburgh Steelers in, when Mike Prefer was the interim head coach while Kevin Stefanski had
How'd they
COVID,
do in that playoff game?
They looked damn well,
yeah,
right? They hit the ground running. They looked fluid the entire game. This is a dude that Aaron Rodgers praised, right? Like when he was his quarterback's coach / OC, or however they did that, had that mixed up in Green Bay, he always got rave reviews from Aaron Rodgers about how he helped him, developed his play. So I'm looking at this situation to where I seen the dude get fired that I wasn't even sure what the hell he did. I just knew what his job title was.
Yeah.
And then we replaced him with a dude who got fired, and regardless of what people might say, I don't know the ins and outs of the numbers. I just know the Buffalo Bills had a better record after they fired Ken Dorsey than they did before.
Well, they were trajectorying. Their trajectory was to miss the playoffs. And that move to fire Ken Dorsey was a little like the Eagles' move when they flipped defensive coordinators after 11 or 12 games, whatever it was. Now, in the Eagles' case, the whole thing blew up because the defensive coordinator that was there was doing a good job and was popular, and they brought an offensive guy on to be the DC. Mm-hmm. And it was an unmitigated disaster. It was a dumpster fire. And a team that was the 1 seed worked their way all the way to the last spot in the wild card and ended up losing to Tampa Bay. Buffalo made a similar move at the midway point, and the chatter in Buffalo was, we're already thinking about next year. And Dorsey out, new play caller in, and they turned it around and make the playoffs.
And I'm not trying to be negative.
I'm not either, man.
Like, I want to give this a chance, right? If Ken Dorsey has success, that means the Cleveland Browns have success.
That's right.
But for me, if I'm being honest with myself, I have a hard time buying what they're selling because Kevin Stefanski, internally, I don't believe Kevin Stefanski wanted to fire Alex Van Pelt, right?
I agree.
I don't think he wanted to do that. And if he was forced to make these moves on his staff, then I'm questioning how much control he really has. I'm questioning a lot of things about the culture that I thought was refreshed, revitalized, and revamped. And now I don't know
answers
no more.
we thought we had that we no longer have.
I don't know no more.
Well, once again, I think one of the things is when you talk about power, just because somebody didn't show you that they had the power doesn't mean that it was already given away. I look at it like this. You notice that Andrew Berry wasn't on the stage today?
Nope.
Generally speaking, when you got a top-notch guy or a coordinator position or somewhere, you would seem that you would have the general manager up there speaking to why the move was made. But guess what? You have not heard him say anything about the move that was made offensively on the coaching staff. So my thing was, when I seen that, I automatically knew what type of time it was, what we was on. And I think, and by the way, Kevin didn't do himself no favors, right? And he didn't do himself no favors because when you put somebody at coordinator, right, and you don't let them do their job, how did you think you was going to keep him insulated, right? You know what I'm saying? If Alex Van Pelt was really the guy putting his name and signing off on them play sheets for every week, it would have had him have a better opportunity to go to Jimmy Haslam and say, what you mean you get rid of me? I did X, Y, and Z. But now, because you called the plays, there was no way you could have insulated him anymore. Because now it's like he was the obvious scapegoat, right? They're not going to get rid of you, right? Because you're a coach of the year. But and some of the reason it seems icky, and that word is a loaded word, but it's definitely a loaded word. The reason it's icky is because it's an oxymoron. You're saying that on one hand, you got Schwartz and you got the comeback player of the year. You got the assistant of the year. Stefanski is for the coach of the year. You got all these big time, the defensive player of the year. The Browns is all over that. But guess what? You get to the offseason, half the coaching staff then turned over. It sends two different messages. So for me, what it hit me with was, they really didn't think the season was all that great.
Well, or
they didn't think it was.
Or this. The season was great, but it wasn't great for the reason they needed it to be great for. They needed the season to be great because Deshaun Watson was great.
Yes.
And while all these other things were happening that were great, Deshaun Watson was involved in one great half of football. It was the comments that were attributed to Jimmy by a number of reporters after the Arizona 27-0 win. Nice win, right? We didn't pass enough.
So you know
I
what?
didn't get to show off my $230 million Maserati's arm. That's not the way I want to win. I want to win because of him, not with him.
And see, that pisses me off. So you know what we shouldn't do this year?
What?
Next year when we get to talking about Deshaun Watson, we're going to forget the win-loss record, right? Because apparently winning is not enough. We started the show talking about public perception and people worried about how things look. Damn the fact that he was 5-1. Jimmy saying this man didn't throw for 300 yards, 400 yards, 5 touchdowns and no interceptions. I can care less that he won 4 or 5 games as a starter. It didn't look pretty enough.
Listen,
that's the wrong message to be sending.
I think that when the Browns lost to Houston, they did their owner a huge favor. Because I believe Jimmy had already made up his mind. He didn't make up his mind after the Houston game. Oh, this is a pile of trash. I got to fire AVP. He had made up his mind whenever. Whether it was because Flacco looked so good, maybe Paul said, he looks so good because the offense Kevin likes to run is suited to Flacco. It's not suited to Watson. Whatever was the tipping point that Jimmy decided we can't move forward with this, imagine if the Browns beat Houston, then beat Baltimore. Now how are you going to fire AVP?
Jimmy remind
How are you going to fire anybody?
He remind me of the owner from the movie Major League. Like, damn it.
We lost. Woo!
You know, in life, people, it ain't about winning. It's about winning or winning my way. You know, you don't like, you know, we talk about it all the time. Like, you know, we watch, Steve Kerr said something. He's like, you know what, you know, a lot of people come out to Golden State and watch Steph Curry play and everything else. And as a coach, you have it in your mind the way you want to play and all the experience you have. But when you get here and you see Steph Curry pulling up from half court, in your heart, it's a tug. It's like, hey, I wasn't taught to play the game this way. I don't value the game this way. But when you see a guy that's special that's doing it this way, it's a crossroads. It's either you go down this path or you go down this path. And it takes a lot from a person's ego to stand out of the way and say, I'm going to do it that way and let him shoot it from half court.
I'm glad you said that. It's what I've always gone back to, the DNA of a championship owner. I have talked to people in not just football, so I'll get that out there. I've always been fascinated by leadership, by ownership, by methodology. And I have been a student/fan of winning organizations. And I had a chance when I was sitting out my non-compete with ESPN to work for the New England Patriots. And although it was just for a couple of weeks, it was their playoff network that was a 24-hour streaming network. I got a chance to meet Mr. Kraft. I got a chance to spend time around the organization. And I went into that eyes wide open and I said, I want to see what all this hype's about. I learned day 2 what all the hype was about. He hires great, smart, accomplished people. He's not going to baseball and hiring a baseball guy to run his football team, okay? That's not what he's about. He's about finding great quality people. He empowers them, and then you know what he does? He doesn't ever tell them anything. I need this. We're going to do this. He says one thing. I asked all of his leaders, what does he do? He says, our weekly meetings are him asking us questions. And you know what the questions are? What do you need? What do you need that you don't have? That's what a good owner does. That's what they do. The Steelers, they hire qualified, competent men. And do you think that Mr. Rooney is calling Mike Tomlin saying, yo, offensive coordinator's got to go. I need somebody that's going to. That's why they win. They don't meddle. And what's most disappointing to me is Jimmy Haslam was a minority owner in the Steelers. He saw how Mr. Rooney ran that team. Just hire good people and then stay out of the building. Because the year you weren't allowed in the building, they did pretty well.
We got to get to some Super Bowl stuff here. We're going to start our ultimate same-game parlay on FanDuel. And for the last time today, FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook, and they want to wish everybody a happy Super Bowl week. If you're like us, Super Bowl Sunday is all about scoring the best seats on the couch, grabbing your favorite football snacks, placing some super bets, and FanDuel has a ton of different ways to help you end the season with not just one W, but 2 or 3. Not only can you bet on the winner of Super Bowl 58, but FanDuel also has bets for which players can score touchdowns, how many points will be scored, and so much more. Today, new customers get $200 in bonus bets if their first bet of $5 or more wins. So visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to sign up. That is FanDuel.com/UCSS. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official partner of the NFL. If you have winning tickets this week, make sure you send it to us. But we're going to start with the first leg of our same game ultimate parlay for the Super Bowl, guys. I'm going to give you in a sec the FanDuel over-unders on passing yards. If we can come to a consensus on one we like, we'll lock it into our ultimate same-game parlay. If we can't, it becomes a 4-leg parlay. We're only going to bet if we're all in consensus on one of the 5. And your 5 options today, guys: Mahomes over 265.5 passing yards, under 265 passing yards, Purdy over 245.5 or under 245.5, or the field over half a yard. That is any player outside of Purdy or Mahomes throwing for a pass.
Yeah, that's an interesting bet.
That's
so
crazy.
Which one of these 5 in your mind stands out as the biggest lock? And if we all agree, we'll make it the first leg of our same game ultimate parlay.
This is tough because this, looking at these numbers, you have to imagine at whose pace is the game being played at, right?
Right.
It is because 49ers, they ideally would like to run the football, keep the score low. Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs have run the ball. However, you saw what they were able to do against the two teams, the Ravens and the Bills. So if it's a Chiefs pace, you could easily see over 265. If I'm looking at it, and I had to say which is most likely, I would probably say Brock Purdy under 245. But 245 is
that's a low
that's
number.
a very low number, especially if they get down early.
You're
and
right.
They got to throw.
We're really trying to figure out how the game is going to be played. Who's going to control the tempo? Who will be leading? I think that has a lot to do with it. Look, if either of these teams fall down 2 scores,
it's past
the overs are over.
Yeah.
They got it. But we have to remember something, that this is not the typical Kansas City Chiefs team. Their defense is incredible.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this game last week. These teams all have the following: really smart and productive quarterback play. They both have really good running backs, and they both have tremendous defenses. So if we agree that those 3 common denominators exist, then it might be smart for us to take an under and think that the defenses are going to dominate the pace. This may not be a 27-24 game.
If you look at it, to go back and look at the Chiefs-Ravens game, right? Patrick Mahomes, 30 of 39, 241, 1 touchdown, right?
Wow. Under the 265.
It was under 265.
I think San Francisco's defense is very, very similar. I think it's better.
It's so crazy because you look at it from a standpoint, and I think Lamar Jackson, if you look at Lamar Jackson, let me see.
He had more yards, but fewer connections.
He had way more yards. I think he went over, I think his over-under was 215. Where did he go? His over-under was 215. He was 20 of 37 for 272 yards.
Yeah.
So you look, could I see for Brock Purdy throwing for over 245 if the team gets down? Sure. And this was a 17-10 game.
Yeah. I think the Super Bowl is going to resemble that.
So it's funny because I remember that game, and I remember I was betting on that game as well. They had the over-under for Lamar Jackson rushing yards set at 66.5. A lot of people took the under because, to your point, Kansas City's defense has been more stout. And you can argue, and Darren Smith will be on the show Wednesday, but the defense outplayed the offense and Patrick Mahomes this entire season, right?
I think they have more to do with it than Patrick this year.
And so you look at it, that particular game against the Ravens, they made sure that Lamar Jackson was not going to beat them with their legs.
Yeah.
I think Kansas City Chiefs defense is that damn good, and I'm taking the under. I think we should go under for Purdy, And I would actually go under on the Pat Mahomes 265. His main target is Travis Kelce. The 49ers linebacker group is one of the best in the entire NFL. I don't really see the rookie wide receiver really having that much success on the outside. I would probably go under on a 265.5. Mike, I'm curious to know what the combined is, passing yards and rush yards for Pat Mahomes. Depending on what that number is, I would probably go over on that.
Brock Purdy, just to give you an example, they beat the Lions 34-31. He was 20-31 for 267 yards. So that's against the Lions. Lions don't have as good as defense as it is against the Chiefs. However, I mean, it seems like teams are willing to throw the ball and not stick to the running game as much, especially if you need to score touchdowns against the Chiefs.
Do we think McCaffrey will have success against the Chiefs' defense? That's the
We'll
question.
do some rushing props in the next leg. That's
I know. I don't want to go down that road, but in general,
yes,
I do.
Kansas City's rush defense has been pretty good. Am I right, Mike?
They've been really good. Yeah. I mean, they held Baltimore last week to a tiny number, but they only ran the ball with a running back 6 times. So if that isn't working,
particularly if they're down, they might be more likely to just scrap it because they've got receivers, they've got in Kittle, they've got the tight end that they can use as a. I don't know, man. Those are really tricky numbers.
See, I think
we don't all agree, we don't have to. This cannot be part of the leg. So
I think Nick Bolton is one of the best pass coverage linebackers in the NFL. When you look at Kansas City, you look on the outside, they got Ladarius Sneed, who gave up his first touchdown of the season last week.
He's very good.
So, like, on all three, then you got Chris Jones up front. On all three levels of defense, man, the Kansas City Chiefs is trying to be solid. To where on the other side of the ball, man,
you want to go Purdy under?
49ers can get got. I'm going Purdy. I think we should go Purdy under.
One for Purdy under. I like the Purdy under.
Let's take it. Lock it in.
G, are you good with that? We have to be unanimous.
I think he said that was his first choice.
That was my first choice.
So Purdy under 245 and a half passing yards. We're going to lock that in.
Lock it in.
As the first leg of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show.
He has struggled in the 2 games he struggled in this year were the Browns and I believe the Eagles. Did he struggle against the Eagles?
Against the Bengals.
The Bengals he struggled against.
Yeah.
I don't think Bengals. I don't think stout pass defense when I.
But that was coming off when he had the whole concussion. That was when they.
Yeah, that's right. That was. Let's lock it in.
Maybe I'm going too far with it. It just seemed like every time I seen San Francisco play one of those stout AFC teams this year, they got their ass kicked.
Yeah,
so
they did.
All right, we're going from that, G, to the top 5 Super Bowl storylines that we're not talking enough about. You guys know all about Mahomes chasing history. You know about Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant. But these are the ultimate 5 storylines that we are not talking enough about. Underrated and silly storylines to keep an eye on this week. First off, number 5, and we're going to run through this quick because I want to get to the David Njoku clip that I know Jay and G haven't seen yet, and I cannot wait to get their reaction. But number 5, how about Viva Las Vegas? I was shocked to find out this is the first ever Super Bowl being held in Las Vegas. Well, I know they just got an NFL team, and I know gambling had been a whole snafu.
Yeah,
but I was just shocked to find out that they hadn't played a Super Bowl here prior to this year.
I'll give you an interesting nugget. When I worked at ESPN, the entire time I worked there, you were not allowed to say a team's nickname and a money line. In other words, you couldn't say the Raiders were a 7-point dog. You would have to say Oakland is a 7-point dog.
Why?
Because the league used to, and the NBA changed this. Adam Silver is the guy that recreated the paradigm. The NFL used to do everything they could to distance itself from gambling. They didn't like when Al Michaels would say at the end of the game on a missed field goal, well, if you know, you know, but that was a really big miss. They didn't like that because the NFL was like, hey, don't tie gambling to football. Fans are going to think these games are rigged. And then Adam Silver came out shortly after he became commissioner. And at one of his State of the League news conferences, we were carrying it live, and I was working at the time on ESPN. We threw it to him, and when he came back, we were all sitting there wide-eyed going, did Adam Silver just say it's time to embrace gambling?
Yeah.
Because he did. And it changed sports forever. He said, instead of stiff-arming gambling, we need to embrace it because it will just drive ratings up. And he was absolutely right. And once unthinkable that the NFL would have anything to do with Las Vegas or casinos or gambling. Now they're in bed with them. And now their league partners are gambling.
Now ESPN has a sports book.
All of them do.
It's crazy.
That's crazy.
That's how much the pendulum has swung on that in the last 10 years.
All right, number 4, the 2018 quarterback class was heralded. 5 quarterbacks in the first round. Baker Mayfield, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen. But how about Sam Darnold? Round of applause for Sam Darnold for being the first quarterback of the 5 taken in the first round to make a Super Bowl. Sam Darnold's redemption. Of those 5 in the first round,
I knew the Browns got this wrong on draft day, damn it. I knew it.
Hey, listen, that Sam Darnold draft day, that redemption, they're gonna have to play that at 12 o'clock when they playing it. The weaker sauce. The story is they play it early. They get you out at about 11 o'clock. They play that story, bro. That's not a story.
That's one of the facts that makes you say stats don't always tell the full
Not
story.
only was he the second quarterback taken in the 2018 draft, but then he beat out the backup job with a quarterback San Francisco traded up to take Trey Lance.
That's true.
And he beat him up too, man. So who would have thought that Sam Darnold was the darling of the 2018 draft?
Now, if Brock Purdy gets hurt in the first quarter and they're down 7-0, and Darnold comes in and they win 35-7, then we've got a story.
Yeah.
How good of your organization got to be?
They're going to be like, only in Cleveland.
Right.
How good do you got to be to whiff on a first-round quarterback with 3 first-round picks and you go to the Super Bowl 2 out of the last 4 years?
It's crazy. It makes no sense. All right, number 3. This is what the ultimate spin zone. So you know Kyle Shanahan, he just finally broke the 0 for 30 when trailing in the fourth quarter. Choke artist.
He's done it a couple times now.
Well, we don't talk about the fact, and this is the spin zone. Once again, these are not serious. These are just funny storylines. Kyle Shanahan has led 2 different Super Bowls by double digits.
That's a fact.
Let's give him credit where credit's due. He led a Super Bowl by 25 points once.
28-3.
He was up by 25 points in the Super Bowl, and when these 2 teams played in 2020, they were up 20-10. So he may not be a great head coach, but you have to be a pretty darn good head coach to have a double-digit lead in 2 separate Super Bowls.
Well, let's hope he's
We
learned
don't care
his
how it
lesson.
ends.
No, you're
he had
right.
2 double-digit leads, though, at one point.
Now, it also, you have to be pretty damn bad to blow 2 double-digit leads in the Super Bowl.
Number 2. Yeah, you're right. I just want to make fun of Kyle Shanahan.
And I don't have a dog in the fight.
like
I
Kyle
don't care
Shanahan.
who wins,
Very
although
punchable face.
San Francisco was my preseason pick to win it, so if they do, I feel great about that. But all that being said, I hope if they're in the position where they're leading late, he doesn't take his foot off the gas again. Because he did that in Atlanta when they blew the 28-3 lead to the Patriots. It takes 2 things, a miracle offense, and the other team has to stop playing offense.
He
did.
You gotta be getting scores and stops every
3 and outs.
possession.
You need 3 and outs, and they got a lot of them.
That's crazy.
What's the next one, brother?
Number 2. This one actually is a really interesting nugget. In the last 19 years, the last 19 Super Bowls, the team that has worn white is 16-3. The San Francisco 49ers are wearing white on Super Bowl 58 Sunday or Super Bowl Sunday.
How do they choose? Who chooses that?
You know what? It's a great question. I have no idea. But the Chiefs are the home
team. In alternating years, the AFC or the NFC
home
is determined.
Back to back.
Yeah.
Okay.
But obviously nobody's home in that they're all neutral site games except for the year Tampa won.
Just kind of interesting.
Oh, no, the Rams won 2 in LA.
Like 16-3, it's not a 2-game sample size. It's
is
2 decades, so
it is kind of crazy.
Yeah. And then the number 1 storyline that people aren't talking about enough. You're gonna hear the Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift, Christian McCaffrey, Olivia Culpo every day of the week. You're taking Olivia Culpo over Taylor Swift. It's not even close. That's the real power couple.
Listen, I agree with you on
that. That's the real power couple in this contest.
Yeah, and that's one that more football fans can get their mind around.
Miss Universe.
Yeah.
Come on.
Like, that's pretty impressive stuff. We need a bigger picture of Christian and, is her name Olivia?
Olivia.
Yeah, we need a bigger picture of them so our audience can appreciate what you're talking about.
There's Google.
She's not ugly.
Yeah.
Travis Kelce, see, listen, hey, Travis, you ain't hustling right. You might want to go ahead and get you a little couple Travises right here, around here, bro. Stop playing around.
Some baby Travises.
Yeah, baby Travises. You figure that out. Like, I don't know what you doing. You think you just going to be good forever? Like, that's the way you got to go.
He told him to go Stedman.
Yeah, for real. Like, what are you doing?
Like, is this for a money play?
Yeah, bro, this is for a forever play. I need everything. Like, them little kids going to be, like, he may get alimony. He might get child support.
Well, no, he would.
We gotta play this last clip here because Jay hasn't seen it. G, you haven't seen this
mind
yet.
Works in mysterious ways.
This happened over the weekend. It was at the Pro Bowl event. It's not a game anymore. It's an event. But if you didn't love David Njoku yet, I promise you he might be your favorite Brown after you hear this clip. It's about a minute long. Take a listen.
Micah, how do you think he did in the first half?
I thought he did amazing. He made great adjustments. He obviously showed why Cleveland is Cleveland. And
Whoa. That's a crazy shot.
Don't give us that political.
David, you have an opportunity for a rebuttal here. Obviously, that first half didn't go the way you wanted.
It's cool. You
Okay.
You understand one thing, and excuse my voice, it's gone. When the losses come with big bosses. One thing you got to understand is he said Cleveland is Cleveland, but we're both here. I mean, we're both playing this Madden game.
I think that's a shot.
So you got to make it make sense.
Any person who's reenacting Meek Mill lyrics is like, I can't take him serious. But am I lying though? Nah, you trying to be lyrical, but those not even
get
lyrical.
I'm saying we're both fitting.
Lyrically, I'm supposed to represent.
He has a good point, bro. We all here.
So what are you saying? Cleveland.
Okay, fair enough. Well, let's take it back to this game for a second. Tyreek, you are back in a similar situation that you were last year.
He went on to say Dallas is Dallas as well. So.
No, that's like one of the best all-time comebacks because it's self-deprecating. Yeah, I'm here. So are you.
I thought he was gonna take the headset off and go.
I thought it felt like it got a little hairy for a second.
like Njoku stood on business and I respect it, man. He represent Cleveland the proper way.
I love that.
Like, listen, I respect any athlete that comes to the city, embrace the city, and let them know, man, we ain't taking no stuff from none of y'all. Y'all sit up there and talk this whole Cleveland is Cleveland stuff, but the last time I checked, last time he checked, if you don't make it to the Super Bowl, your ass is in the Pro Bowl too. So while you sitting up here for to be runner-up, the Defensive Player of the Year to Myles Garrett, talking about Cleveland is Cleveland, Dallas is Dallas. Y'all choke every year when it counts too. Last time I checked.
Who was the last guy to say that? Didn't someone from Pittsburgh say?
Chase.
Oh, Chase. Yeah, that's right. Chase Claypool said Cleveland is Cleveland.
Yeah,
a bunch of gray faces.
And then Jamar says.
Not Claypool.
Wait. Hold on. It's been said twice.
Yeah, a couple times.
Before in the year that we beat Pittsburgh in the last game of the season, and the playoff game earlier that year, someone for Pittsburgh.
It was a Pittsburgh Steeler.
Said, and I think it was it Claypool?
It might have been Chase Claypool.
I can't remember, but someone said Cleveland is Cleveland, and they're just a bunch of gray faces.
Browns is the Browns or something like that. That was along those lines.
And so Cincinnati said it, and they learned. Pittsburgh said it, and they learned. I hope we play Dallas in the Super Bowl next year so they can learn.
Always, like they say, when we first started the show, they was like, man, y'all got a little internet show.
Little YouTube show.
Then I was like, well, listen, if it's just a YouTube show, then, Stephen A. Smith, we get Legler, we get all kind of dudes. So guess what? If I'm on the show and then they came on the show, then vicariously through the transitive property, I'm just as famous as them.
We play Dallas. we play Dallas in Cleveland next year.
We do?
We play Dallas in Cleveland next year.
Oh, Mike, so that quote
do I got that right?
No, Dallas comes here next year.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Yeah, we play them here in Cleveland.
Okay, good. So we can show them. We can show them.
And he be trucking defenders. Okay, I don't know if Mika know that or not, but Njoku be out trucking defenders.
Oh, they will line up.
Oh yeah.
I'll be like, man.
We'll have to pick him up in pass coverage.
I'm like, man, you don't see me. Man, listen, my hair look better than yours. I got better skin than yours. I got in the fire, and I still look like a model.
Hey, speaking of hair, Saturday.
He was without a shirt all weekend.
My build is better than yours. My physique.
He went and jumped in a lake or some pond or something. And as soon as I seen him do it, I said, "Oh, Shanti done lost her damn mind, man. He just jumping out."
We did, right?
Me and T was watching it together.
Why? Don't get him wet?
Man, don't get your locks wet like that, man.
You can't,
really?
Yeah, but see, he can.
Why? They could come out?
It's a lot. It can get mildew, like it's just a lot.
Then you got to detox.
It's stuff you'll never understand.
It's a lot.
No, I won't. I'll never understand. I did have a friend that had locks, and I did know that you weren't allowed to touch them. That was a thing.
No, people ask to touch. Man, don't touch mine.
Don't touch the hair.
I used to have. I had baby locks, and my locks. I just got caught doing too much. I was playing in my hair all the time, and then she was just like, "Listen, that's the reason your back don't lock up. That's the reason you got a shag in the back, a fade on the sides, and these little twisties. You playing your hair too much." I'm like, man.
Shout out to Njoku though, man, for putting on for the city.
You got the same locksmith, right?
Yeah, we got the same loctician.
I like the
I know you do. We got the same loctician.
Is a locksmith a man that does dreads?
Loctician is a woman, and a locksmith is a man.
I thought a locksmith was somebody that kind of opened up a safe when you need that safe open.
and I always question myself, like, if you go to jail, who is locking these dudes up?
I don't know. Y'all going
Who's
too
doing
far.
his locks? Like, how do your locks look crazy in you in jail? Who's doing those locks?
I don't know.
It's like the women in their 50s that get arrested, and then they come to their arraignment 2 months later, and they got gray roots and then dark hair from here. Eventually, it just grows out.
They'll be like, "Man, I didn't know you was dyeing your hair like that." Yeah, you out of here.
Yeah, jail unlocks a lot of secrets.
jail is a reset button.
Wait a minute.
Yes, it is. All right. Was that the last one?
Yeah, that was it.
Okay.
That was it.
Well, we're going to save this for overtime, right? The Baker Mayfield stuff?
Yeah, we can touch on it real quick, then we'll get more into it.
Okay, well, we'll tease overtime. If you didn't watch, and you're in the majority if you didn't, and if you did, why did you? But the Pro Bowl weekend, they do a lot of skills tests, and then they play a flag football game, and it's an aggregate score of all the points. Baker Mayfield actually won the quarterback accuracy competition. So he won that, giving the NFC 3 points. And then he went out and played pretty good football in the fourth quarter of the flag football game and led the NFC to a victory and was named the MVP of the game. Am I right? He did get the MVP, right? Mm-hmm. Which was, and then I did see one thing over the weekend. I saw Travis Kelce made some comments about Baker Mayfield where he just effused love all over Baker. I don't have the quote in front of me, but something like, he's a great guy. His teammates love him. They play hard for him. He wears his emotions on his sleeve. He's just what you see is what you get, but he's out there balling. And I think he might have said something like, I enjoyed watching him play this year. If he comes back to Tampa Bay next year and he has the same offensive play caller, it will be his.
He can't, because his play caller is the head coach in
Carolina. Oh, you're right. He's gone. That's right. So next year will be Baker Mayfield's 7th, and it will be his 9th different play caller.
That's crazy.
That is bananas.
I will say this, though. I'll be asking people, he going to get, we laughed at him because they said they was going to offer him the 30, but then he played himself out of the 30. I've been saying for a whole year, he about to get that 30. I think he about to get 30 big nuggets. I'm telling you, bro.
I think he's number 1 on most available free agents.
He's going to get the bag. It's supply and demand.
Yeah.
And he's going to be in high demand no matter what.
And he said he get to choose his offensive coordinator.
For real. I want that Deshaun deal.
Yeah, he did. For real. He was like, oh, no, we got to see who call the plays first. Like, I'm like, every time, you know what it is, man. That's like getting leather seat options when you get in the car. I need to see what the seats talk about
before you make
anything.
Yeah.
So he about to get that off.
I mean, Nuggets, we got a few minutes, man.
Yeah, what's up?
So just want to say this while I'm out here, man. Of course, it's Black History Month, and I'm gonna be doing this all month long on the Ultimate 216 show. But Bob Gibson, you're a baseball guy.
Yeah.
1967, Bob Gibson became the first ever black player to win the MVP award. I thought this was pretty cool. He pitched in games 1, 4, and 7.
He was the first black ever to win the MVP?
Yeah, World Series MVP.
Oh, World Series MVP.
World Series MVP,
okay,
yeah.
Okay.
So he pitched in the 1967 World Series, pitched games 1, 4, and 7. I thought this was cool when I read this earlier. He gave up 3 runs and 3 starts, 14 hits, struck out 26, including a complete game shutout in Game 4. So,
bro, you're legendary when you do one of the following: you break a barrier, which he did, or they change the rules because of your skill set. They had to. When Wilt Chamberlain came along, they're like, "Oh no, this isn't gonna work."
Goaltending.
we got to make a lot of new rules. The lanes got to be bigger, and with Bob Gibson's 1968 season, I believe.
Did they raise the mound or lower it?
They had to lower the mound because the higher the mound, the more fall and thrust you get, and it becomes a more pitcher-centric game if it's high. He so dominated, I believe it was 68. Mm-hmm. Denny McClain won 30 games in 68, so maybe it was 67. His ERA and his stats looked like video game stuff. And he was so good, they lowered the mound to the height that it's at currently because of Bob Gibson.
Didn't he throw a no-hitter in the World Series?
I don't think he threw a no-hitter in the World Series, no. Don Larson threw a perfect game in the World Series.
Which is, the fact that you threw a complete game in the World Series is stupid.
Well, he just used to always throw complete games.
I always ask
like they did back then.
I'm like, how is it that technology is better and people throw less than they did back then?
Yeah, but I've been dropping these facts on my.
I like that. That's a good
on my
one.
Twitter page. I'm gonna be dropping them on the Ultimate 216 show. I'll be a Mike Share Wednesday. I'll be dropping some more. So
good.
Happy Black History Month to all, man. Look forward to that.
Absolutely.
See you in overtime.
Peace.